What the fuck? Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Camper Report. We're about 5 minutes late. I apologize for that. I just had to get the stream up and running. And it's late. So all of you guys on the East Coast, it's almost 1 a.m. It's 11 p.m. almost here in Colorado, which is about 2 hours behind from the East Coast. But the 49ers, about an hour and a half ago, get a win versus the Green Bay Packers in the playoffs. 24-21. I mean, what a game it was, really. I think it was the closest game that I have watched of the season by far, but it was also the closest game that I've almost watched in my life. This game, probably as far as closeness goes, this game is up there with the Seahawks game week 17 in 2019, when the NFC West championship crown was on the line and Dre Greenlaw made that stop at the goal line. So this game's up there with closeness. And honestly, I actually didn't put this as one of my topics, but this game made history for Kyle Shanahan, because I can't remember the exact stat, but Kyle Shanahan, when down, I think it's by 5+ points, he is 0-30 in games in his career as a head coach. And in this game, he was down by over 5 points. So this is his first win that he's ever had by being down more than 5 points. He's now 1-30. So Kyle Shanahan made history. And, I could kind of try to tell you guys what the 49ers did differently. I'll try to get a little bit into it. But the 49ers, first thing, I would have to go back and watch the game, like the highlights over again. I'm going to try to recollect what I know, but that is what you guys are for. If you guys want to call in, I have my number there, or call in link in description. So basically go to the description, just tap the description thing below, and you can call in. You don't have to have a video. You can just call in and with audio and stuff like that. So if you guys want to call in, feel free to call in. Otherwise, I'll be here answering your guys' comments, and I'll go through a few of my own topics. Grandizer is already in here. I didn't see you last live show that I did. By the way, guys, Monday night, I'm going live with Lions Syndicate. If the 49ers and Lions, the 49ers are obviously in the NFC Championship game, but if the Lions beat the Bucs tomorrow, then the Lions will also be in it. So if the 49ers and Lions face off next week, I'm going to go live on Monday night with Lions Syndicate, Derek from Lions Syndicate. I've had him on the show before, and we'll be going live to break down the 49ers versus Lions game. If the Lions lose to the Bucs tomorrow, we'll still be going live on Monday night. So either way, look out Monday night, going live with Derek from Lions Syndicate. Grandizer says, watching Christina Gomez presents Ghosts and Hauntings when the dead return. What a packed day of football. Yeah. It was interesting. I didn't really watch a ton of the Ravens versus Texans game. I was doing other things, but tomorrow's going to be even better, because I think tomorrow's slate of games is slightly better than today's slate of games, I don't think, the Ravens game versus the Texans, I looked back at the score and I was keeping track of it during the game, and I watched a little bit of the beginning, but that game went exactly how I thought it would. I looked around at my lights. They're so bright. I need to turn them down. That game, the Ravens versus Texans game, it went exactly how I thought it would. I knew that the Texans just didn't have the talent nor the manpower to keep up with the Ravens for all 4 quarters. And I don't think the 49ers do either. I need either the Bills or the Chiefs. Whoever wins tomorrow, I need them to beat the Ravens because I am terrified of the Ravens. Yup, it's crazy stat like that. Kyle was 0-60 when done down in the score. I think he was 0-30. I don't know if he was 0-60. But he was 0-30 when down by more than 5 points in games. In the fourth quarter, I believe it was. I call in for a pizza. Hungry. Yeah, bro. Like, I finished the game. So the game was so exciting most of the time. So the game started, and it was 6:15 where I was. And I was like, I'm not super hungry yet. Let me just wait till halftime to get myself some food. And then, sorry guys. And then it was so exciting at halftime. Halftime only lasted 15 minutes, and I had people over, and I was watching the game with them. So it only lasted 15 minutes, and I didn't have time to make my food because I was making my notes and stuff like that. And then I was like, okay, I can maybe throw up a little something during the second half. But the second half was so exciting that I couldn't walk away from the TV. So I didn't end up really eating any dinner except a few slices of pizza. And then so after the game ended, I mean, this is why I was late to making the show, because after the game ended, I was just needed food. So I chugged some pre-workout, which has 250 milligrams of caffeine in it. And then I ate some oatmeal and then came on. Congrats, Benny, to your 49ers. What a win. 49ers either looked rusty or sleepwalking. They easily could have let the 49ers game get away from them. They could have, and I will talk about that. The Deebo Samuel injury was key. Did I post this to Twitter? Hold on a second. Let me post this to Twitter real quick. This stream to Twitter. Save changes. Cool. I just posted it to Twitter as well. The 49ers versus like this game. Wait, I lost my train of thought. I got distracted and lost my train of thought. Well, oh, sorry. Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel went out. I don't know when it was. I think it was midway through the second quarter. And I think that majorly affected what we want to do on offense. The 49ers have always been slow in the first half. Like, we're a pretty slow starting first half. A lot of times you'll see us kind of be close with the team, and then in the second half really run away with it. And so in this game, it kind of was like that too. So when it was 7-6 at halftime, or I think that's what the score was, I was like, okay, the 49ers are going to pull away, but they never ended up pulling away. And I think not having Deebo Samuel in the second half really hurt them. It's funny, as soon as I posted this stream to Twitter, I got more viewers on it, which is funny. Guys, remember, if you want to call in, link in the description or call my number. So let's get to some of the topics. I'll get some more of your guys' comments. But while I wait, if there are any callers, while I wait for them, I'm going to kind of recollect what I saw in the game. So this is kind of a little bit of a thing that I think was key about this game. What makes QBs great? And this is kind of going to be a breakdown of Brock Purdy's performance, but what he did so well in that last drive that kind of we've all been waiting for Brock Purdy to do. All year, I've been saying Brock Purdy has not had that career-defining moment, right? You know, he's good from playing from ahead. He's made some splashy deep down he's shown that he has a pretty accurate deep ball. But my big thing was, can Brock Purdy play from behind? Can he lead a game-winning drive? And he really hasn't done it this year, nor last year. The only time this year that he did it was against the Browns, and they would have won that game had Jake Moody. I will get to him later. I have a topic in my banners section that says the kickers were the story of why the Packers lost. So I will get to kickers in a minute. That was crazy in itself. But Brock Purdy, like I said, hasn't led a ton of game-winning drives. And I feel like in the first half, I could look at my notes. I really only made notes for the first half because the game was just, I had friends over and the game was so tight. I was talking with them. I wasn't actually focusing on making a ton of notes. I do have notes for the first half, but Brock Purdy generally over the whole entire game was kind of inconsistent. There were times where guys were open and he kind of overthrew them, or it was slightly out of the receiver's range. I know that about, I want to say it was, I'm trying to look if I have it on my, yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to look at my notes real quick. There was a few passes to Ayuk. Like there was this one pass in the first half where Purdy tried to drive it about 15, 20 yards downfield, and it was outside of Ayuk's range, and he had to dive out, and it was almost an interception. And so there was a lot of those throws during the game, especially the first 3 quarters, that were just overthrown or just really inaccurate, which I credit a lot to the rain. Purdy, he's not a good rain quarterback, and I think that was made very clear tonight, and I think that was made very clear all the way back in the Browns game. Just the small hands, it gets to him, the rain. And so we saw that. We saw that. I think, and so then so fast forward to the fourth quarter more, even that last drive, that last touchdown drive. He even said in his kind of post-game interview while walking off the field, he said, I started to settle down and make the right checkdowns and make the right throws. Basically what the Niners did the last 2 drives, because they scored 10 points in the fourth quarter. The last 2 drives, I believe they scored. The Niners, what Brock Purdy did, I feel like, especially in the first half, but the third quarter as well, he was trying to drive the ball downfield a lot. And it led to almost interceptions, 2 almost interceptions. And so what he did in those first 3 quarters were he was trying to drive the ball. He was trying to make a little bit more splashy plays. Those last 2 drives, though, we saw him check the ball down, especially the last drive. The drive before that, the 49ers got an interception, and we didn't really have to go far, and we kicked a field goal. But the drive after, the touchdown game-winning drive after, he was just making these short out routes, these check downs, running it to McCaffrey, and we drained a lot of time off the clock. And he was just really settling in. So, and back to my point of what makes QBs great. Every good QB is going to have a bad game, but it's what you do at the end of the game to get your team back in it. And that's what made Brock Purdy, I think he made his statement tonight. He didn't play great the whole entire game. I can look at his stat line. Let me look at his stat line. 23 for 39. Didn't play great the whole entire game. And then that last drive, we were in striking. He did just enough to kind of keep us within range. Our defense played really well down the stretch to keep us in range. And he did what all great quarterbacks do when they're having a bad game. They come up in the clutch. And that's an answer that a lot of fans around the NFL looking in, that was a knock on Purdy, is he hasn't really been in high-pressure situations. Well, this was a high-pressure situation in the rain. So that's what makes QBs great, and that's what made Brock Purdy great today. And you also got to understand, he threw it almost 40 times in this game, 39 times. So this is probably the most he's thrown it in a game ever. And he was 23 for 39. The big thing, he didn't turn it over. And again, there were 3 really, I'm surprised he didn't turn it over. And that's where my concern comes, is the Packers defense, it's very young and it's good. And the pass rush, I mean, the blitzes that they were sending at Brock Purdy and the fake disguise blitzes were really good. I think Joe Barry actually did a decent game at calling this, like a decent, I think Joe Barry, I mean, a lot of Packers fans have not been happy with their defensive coordinator, Joe Barry, but I think he did a decent job tonight. I just think that Brock Purdy, like the Packers defense is very undisciplined. Well, as far as what I'm trying to say is they didn't capitalize on those gimme interceptions that Brock Purdy gave them. I feel like great top of the line defenses like the Ravens defense, those defenses take advantage of things that quarterbacks give them. The Packers defense did not take advantage of that, and that's why I feel like their defense just isn't great. That's kind of what separates the Packers defense to the elite defenses in the league. So and the big thing with this game was Jordan Love turned it over, and they had turnovers, and the 49ers did not. So that was a big thing. Let's see here. Benjamin, how did the 49ers win? What was your turning point as you watched it? I think the turning point was, I think when I was at my lowest in the game was when the Packers scored. We were winning 14-13, and the Packers scored that last touchdown. And I actually want to get into this real quick because let's see here. The defense was clutch, but there still is a concern. I'm going to get into this. My concern, why did the 49ers start Logan Ryan? Why did they start him? That last touchdown drive that the Packers made that put him up 21-14. 2 plays in a row. So the first play, the Packers, I believe, were at the Niners' 15-yard line. And Jordan Love delivers a strike over the middle all the way to the 4-yard line to Romeo Doubs. And if you looked at the replay in that drive, if you looked the replay of that play, Logan Ryan was over the top. Romeo Doubs beat his cornerback. Logan Ryan was over the top, and he was supposed to drop down and pick up Romeo Doubs. But he was late to the ball. And instead of it being a pick by Logan Ryan, it was a catch by Romeo Doubs and almost a touchdown. The very next play, and I'm kind of getting frustrated because the very next play, the Packers kind of do this screen to Tucker Kraft, or their tight end. Guess who was on Tucker Kraft one-on-one at the 4-yard line? Logan Ryan. And so those two in a row plays that were completely botched by the safety. And I get that the 49ers wanted to start a veteran at the safety position in this playoff game, but Logan Ryan is not as good as Jair Brown. I'm sorry. Jair Brown might have missed a few tackles during the year, but as far as coverage goes, I think Jair Brown, there's no question who's better there. I mean, I just pointed out 2 incidents, but there was so many more incidents that there was this one play where it was deep downfield. I believe it was, I think it was Jordan Reed. No, the Reed guy was wide open deep downfield. And it was another busted coverage by, again, I don't have the notes on that. I'm sorry. But Logan, and then it was deep downfield, Jordan Reed. It was zone coverage. Jordan Reed beats his man. Logan Ryan's supposed to pick him up, but is late to the spot. And Jordan Love hits him for a huge gain. It's just, there was a lot of missed assignments in this game from the safety, Jordan Love, and I was not impressed. Kyle needs to call a better game, passing in the first half when Purdy was having trouble with the rain. Run the ball, please. Yeah, the first half, they weren't running the ball a ton. They really weren't. It's all the last 2 drives, they really stuck to the run game, and it helped them. Which 49ers player or coach or position gets a game ball? Ooh. Let me think about this one. I think Nick Bosa gets a game ball. I think, especially early in that game, he was getting pressure on Jordan Love. And there were some especially in the last play of the game when Jordan Love rolls to his right, throws it across his body into triple coverage, and it gets picked off. That pressure was by Nick Bosa and a few of the other 49ers players, I believe. So I think the whole 49ers defensive line, and most included Nick Bosa, gets a game ball, as well as Dre Greenlaw. He picked the ball off twice. He was really good in this game. He was in the right spot at the right time. Fred Warner made some key tackles on some runs. And I'm going to say the defensive line and the linebacker position group gets a game ball because early in this game, there was a lot of the Packers started off running the ball really well. And I feel like later in the game, the 49ers were really starting to shut it down, and that was largely because their linebacker group and their defensive line was doing such a good job. So hats off to them. I think Steve Wilkes there was a few busted coverages in this game, but I will say down in the red zone, and I have this as one of my notes. I mean, the Packers had 3 red zone trips early in this game, and they had 6 points to show for it. And that kind of that was part of the reason why the Packers lost this game, is because early in this game, they were 3 times inside the 20-yard line, and they had 6 points to show for it. So the Niners defense in the red zone, especially early in the game, kind of saved the game. Now, I will say who gets not a game ball, but who gets a shit. I don't really like to cuss a ton, but Ambry Thomas, man. I mean, him and Logan Ryan had probably the worst games of their career, especially Ambry Thomas. I think he had 4 or 5 holding penalties, some crucial ones too. I feel like one of them was 40 yards downfield. You guys will probably agree with me. And Calvin Hobbs agrees with me with Greenlaw. Greenlaw was the game saver on defense, just like he was 4 years ago with the Seahawks and that whole in the classic 2019 game, whoever won that game won the NFC West in week 17 when he stopped the Seahawks tight end at the goal line. He's clutch, bro. Purdy stayed composed. I was watching it with John Jay. Some fans were upset with Purdy. Looked like there was a lot of miscommunication between Purdy and his receivers. Yes, there was. And one thing I noticed, a lot of slipping tonight. A ton of slipping. There was one play where Romeo Doubs beat Charvarius Ward early in the game. And I have it here. The 49ers defense, the Packers, it was a big play, 2 minutes left in the first. Big play to Doubs. Basically, he was running an out route. He cut in and then out, and then Charvarius Ward just slipped on the play. There was a lot of that today. Purdy is a rhythm and anticipatory passer. If the receivers and him aren't on the same page, he will miss more throws. Yeah, and I mean, Purdy wasn't all bad. There were some throws today, especially late. It was 3rd and 5, I believe it was, in that last drive where we had to go down and score a touchdown. 3rd and 5, and it was an over the middle slant to Ayuk, just a perfect ball, just put perfectly. There were some throws late in that game that Purdy just was incredible. And there were some tight window throws that he missed, but there was also some tight window throws that he made in this game. Very up and down. But I will say the Packers were not making it easy for him. Nothing was wide open in this game. And I think a large part of that, especially in the second half, was due to Deebo Samuel going out, because Deebo Samuel commands a lot of attention. Sorry I didn't get to your comment earlier, Bebop Jones, but he is in the house. Yo, go Niners. Hopefully you're still here. Rookie kickers on both teams missed crucial field goals. So maybe I should get to that next. I just wanted to highlight Ambry Thomas and Logan Ryan because they both sucked. The Packers, like the Rams, overachieved. A lot predicted that they would make the playoffs, yet they were in the playoffs. That they wouldn't make the playoffs. Yeah, that's true. A lot of missed tackles again by the Niners. Yeah, there were. I don't think there was as far as like missed tackles. I think there was a lot of missed assignments by the safeties and the cornerbacks and just people slipping. Tom Grossi pointed out the return of this midseason Jordan Love showed up at the end of the fourth, the one who threw poor passes. Yeah, that last throw that was the game-sealing interception, he could have just thrown it away. It's not even like it was the last play of the game. Like, yeah, where he was, like, scrambling out, threw it across his body, just an absolute terrible throw. Yeah. They get a poop. They do. Oh my gosh, Ambry Thomas, bro. It was funny because the last drive, so the 49ers in their last touchdown drive, it wasn't really raining. And then as soon as the Packers got the ball back with 1 minute 10 left in the fourth, as soon as the Packers got the ball back, it started just pouring again. It was hilarious. So God kind of shined upon the 49ers. Let's talk about really quickly. Let's talk about the kickers. We'll talk about the kickers, and then I want to talk about real quick the Packers' historical run. Well, not historical, but just really impressive run. So the kickers in this game, I don't think either team really trusts their kickers. I would say the Packers' special teams in this game was better than the Niners because the Packers had that one really long kick return that led to a touchdown. And that's another thing, real quick, before I move on from the defense. The defense was decent in this game. The Packers ended up scoring 21 points, but if you don't count the long kick return that basically screwed the 49ers defense, the 49ers gave up 14 points in this game. That's not bad. I mean, there were, considering all the penalties and blown assignments that they had, this is why I think, and I'll get to the Packers in a second, but this is why I think the Packers are still a young team and they're still undisciplined and they don't capitalize on everything. The thing with the Ravens and why the 49ers got blown out is the Ravens capitalized on every mistake the Niners made on offense. But the Packers did not. The Packers, a good, well-seasoned team would have scored in the red zone at the beginning of that game. Instead, the Packers were in it 3 times and they only scored 6 points. A good, well-seasoned team would have picked off Brock Purdy more. They didn't. A good, well-seasoned team would have, I think also late in that game, I think the Packers should have played a little bit more conservative instead of slinging the ball around. But the 49ers made some mistakes in this game, blown coverages that just weren't fully taken advantage of by the Packers. And so considering at times how bad the 49ers defense played, only giving up 14 points really is impressive. But let's talk about the kickers. So the kickers, huge story. Neither one was particularly good. Although Jake Moody did make that 52-yarder, which was impressive. I did not expect him to, but he proved me wrong. He made the 52-yarder right down the middle, but it was actually, it was almost short. Like he almost didn't have enough leg to it, which is weird because he usually is the kicker that was praised in college for having such a big leg. But in that 52-yard kick late in the game, when it was 21-14 and we kicked a field goal late in the game to make it 21-17, it was very well flaced, but it just didn't have enough leg and it barely made it through the bottom of their uprights. On the flip side, and then right before the half, actually, Jake Moody gets the ball tipped by a Packers player. And I don't know if that was necessarily his fault. Maybe he should have put a little bit more air to it. But both teams missed a field goal in this game. Now, the Packers field goal that they missed was a little bit more crucial. So basically, it was 21-17. The 49ers give the ball back to the Packers. I believe that was the drive that Aaron Jones had a huge run. And then Daniel Carlson comes in. I think it's like a 45-yard field goal, and he missed it. It was raining pretty hard, but he missed it. And that's when you need a clutch kicker like Robbie Gould to make those kind of things. Because if the Packers would have made that field goal, it would have been 24-17. The Niners would have, let's say, gone down and scored that touchdown, but it would have went into overtime, most likely, this game. Or the Packers would have been playing to win this game with a field goal instead of tie it with a field goal. So the Packers, their missed field goal screwed them more than the missed field goal right before the half did to the 49ers that Jake Moody missed or got tipped. But Packers fans are not going to be sleeping because they very well could have won this game if they would have been a little bit more maybe disciplined, if they would have taken the opportunities and shots that the Niners gave them, and if they would have made that kick. Now, Carlson, their kicker, has been known for has been known for missing field goals during the year. So no surprise there. But yeah. Before we get on to the last topic that I have, again, guys, if any of you want to call in, if any of you want to chat, the link is there. The link is there. So I'll leave the door open. Before we get to another Packers topic that I want to talk about, so again, guys, while I have you guys here, Monday night, Derek from Detroit Lions Syndicate is coming on. If the Lions beat the Buccaneers tomorrow, we're going to be previewing the Lions versus 49ers game on my channel Monday night. That's going to be fun. So stay tuned for that. That should be fun Monday night with Derek from Lions Syndicate. We'll be breaking the potential 49ers versus Lions game down. So hop in for that. They knew it would be wet, but they didn't have their players with the correct cleats. Lots of blown coverages when our defenders fall down. Yes, very true. Lions fans can rest well with the Packers out. After that Thanksgiving game, Lions looked lost versus the Packers. I'm going to talk about how the Packers could potentially have made the Super Bowl if they would have beaten the Niners. And that's another reason why the Packers fans will not sleep easy tonight, because there is going to be a lot of speculation of what could have happened to the Packers if they would have just won this game. Mother Nature is a Niners fan. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because on that last drive, on the last Packers drive, it all of a sudden just started pouring. CMC, he ran really, he ran hard. He did. He almost had, I wish I would have, one thing I do want to bring up, I feel like I'm not bringing up enough stats from this game. I'm gonna come out with a more of a in-depth breakdown video, but the Niners did, speaking of CMC running hard, the Niners did, thank you for reminding me, but the Niners did run the ball a lot more in the second half. And they also controlled time of possession a lot more in the second half. I think about 3 minutes left to go in the second quarter, there was a stat that says that the Packers had 16, I believe it was 4 minutes left to go in the second quarter. The Packers had time of possession 16 and a half minutes, and the Niners' time of possession was 9.5 minutes. And this was almost at the end of the second quarter. Then you fast forward to the end of the game, the time of possession, and it was Packers had 30 minutes, 19 seconds time of possession. The Niners had 29 minutes, 41 seconds time of possession. So the Niners definitely did a lot better of a job of swinging that number in the second half. And you look at Christian McCaffrey, 17 carries, 98 yards, 5.8 yards per carry, 2 TDs. And what I noticed with the run game, this is kind of getting me off on a separate topic, but what I noticed with the run game was the Niners were running it a lot more between the tackles, between the A and B gaps in the second half. First half, more outside runs. And the Packers were doing a really nice job at stopping the outside runs. Their linebackers were getting up in the Niners' faces and were tackling McCaffrey. But in the second half, they started to run it more up the middle, which is what they should have been doing the whole time, the 49ers, because the Packers are weak in the middle of their defensive line. And they played a lot more physical in the second half, is what I'm trying to say. So that was a big thing. Another thing that I quickly want to point out about Purdy. At the end of this game, that touchdown drive, he made one really nice scramble and run. I believe it was for the first down. That is something that Jimmy Garoppolo can never do. That is something that clutch quarterbacks do. Scramble out, evade pressure, look downfield, know that nobody's there, and run for the first down. That was something that was very refreshing in this game, is seeing just a mobile quarterback. When's the last time have the 49ers seen a mobile quarterback in the playoffs for them? Usually it's them getting beaten by a mobile quarterback. Now we have a mobile quarterback. And that's one thing with Jordan Love is like he's mobile, but he's not like super fast. He's not going to like beat you around the edge with speed like Purdy is. Ravens caught the picks while the Packers dropped the throws by Purdy. Exactly. What about the penalties? It got chippy out there. Guys pushing and shoving. Well, no pushing, no shoving. Well, they were pushing and shoving. I think he was trying to. I know what you mean there, Grandizer, like you were doing the opposite. But yeah, there were some unnecessary. I mean, Trent Williams had some bone-headed penalties in this game. Just absolute stupid penalties in this game. Underground Wes. I've never seen you before, so salute to you if you're still in the stream. This was about 5 minutes ago. CMC is a special player. No quilt. No, sorry. It is way too late. I am reading wrong. I'm sped. Forget. I'm not actually sped. But I'm stupid. I'm reading wrong, and it is late. I'm getting tired. CMC is a special player. No quit in that guy. Yeah, he is a special player for sure. Benny, if the Buccaneers win, do you have a Buccaneers content creator lined up? Fire those cannons. Yes, I do. Well, I have collabed with a Buccaneers content creator before from the Pewter Report. So I might hit him up and see if he has time to do a show. But yes, I do. You are getting very sleepy. I am, bro. That pre-workout is starting to wear out, and I'm kind of dying. It's been definitely a long few hours for sure. I definitely want to quickly touch about the Packers' amazing run and how it could have went farther. So I want to break this down. Packers barely sneak into the playoffs. They beat the Cowboys. And I was listening to Haberman and Middlecoff earlier before I came on the show. And I think they just finished being live. But I was listening to Haberman and Middlecoff. And they said if the Packers would have beaten the Niners, would they be in the Super Bowl? And I started thinking about it, and I was like, they would have been in the Super Bowl because they've already beaten the Lions. I think they honestly maybe would have beaten the Lions again, potentially. Maybe, probably not, but I mean, who knows? They beat the Niners they beat the Lions. Did I say Niners? They beat the Lions in Ford Field on Thanksgiving. So who's to say that they wouldn't have this time again? And they destroyed them last time. And then the Buccaneers, I think they lost to, but that was a bad loss, and they're a lot hotter than the Buccaneers are. I think they could have had a real shot at making the Super Bowl. Which reminds me a lot of the 2021 49ers when we started off the season 3-5. We ended off the season as a 6th seed. We made this incredible run, beat the Packers in Lambeau, and made it to the NFC Championship game and was really, 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 really close to the Super Bowl. And so I know how it feels, Packers fans. I know how it feels to play with house money and then your team comes so close to the finish line, and then they lose, and you're left thinking, well, if they would have won, we almost won. If they would have won, and then we would have played this team, and we definitely would have beaten this team, and then we would have made the Super Bowl, and then in the Super Bowl, maybe we could have, beaten this. It's just, I know how it feels. The Packers, it's crazy because it's crazy to think about how they maybe could be a Super Bowl team if they would have just gotten past the Niners. So the Niners win. I've been streaming for about 40 minutes now, so I'm going to get off soon. But if any of you guys want to call in, link in the description or that phone number. Benny, sorry, side note, did you know 49ers fan Laura Katz? She was usually active on a lot of 49ers content creators. She passed away on January 2nd. She was 46 years old. I saw that on Twitter. I didn't know her personally. I'm not really sure if I had ever tuned into one of her shows. I'm not even sure what channel she was on. It does suck that for somebody to be dying that young. That's tragic, I'm sure. Well, yeah, it is tragic, but I didn't know her personally. No, I don't think we really knew each other, but when somebody passes that young, it's definitely sad. So, condolences to her. Well, she's dead, so but condolences to her family and to the Niners community who did know her. And you know what? Like I said before, whenever somebody dies that young, it is tragic. So, I did not know her, but good show. I need to probably get off before I say anything super out of pocket because I'm starting to lose it here. Good show. Packers have a nice future. Who do you want to win tomorrow for the Niners to face? I want the Bucks to win. I think, yeah, so let's quickly break this next game, like scenarios down. I'll obviously get more into it as the week goes on, but I would say the team that I want to play the most is the Bucks because that game was close last time, but we always had control. I think the Bucks, that would be the easiest team to face. And I feel like because the Lions, they have a really explosive offense, and yes, their defense isn't the greatest, but our offense, like, if you would have told me that going into this game, the Niners offense would be kind of the weak point, I would have said, go home. You're crazy. But the Niners offense was kind of the handicap in this game, not the defense. I honestly think, especially, we haven't touched on Debo, but I have said in this show just briefly that Debo Samuel, I don't know if he's playing next week. Usually in playoff games, if players have stingers or whatever, they usually come back, even no matter the pain. And so the fact that he got ruled out kind of makes me think this injury is pretty serious. Hopefully he comes back next week. And so that's going to kind of limit the 49ers offense a little bit, which is going to make them less explosive, which means I think I would be more scared to face the Lions offense because their offense is really explosive. And I think our offense is going to be less explosive without Debo Samuel. And so if the Lions were scoring over 20 points versus us, then I'd be afraid to face them because I don't know how our offense would keep up with theirs. So Laura Cat wasn't a content creator. She was just a huge fan who supported a lot of content creators. CG Ruthless knew her. He made a tribute for her. Oh, okay. The Lions don't want to play outside. Their ratio to winning in the elements is not very good. I really hope it's not a rain game next week. Can I be the first to say that please, God, do not let it be a rain game next week. That will be bad for everyone, including the 49ers, because I never want to see this as long as we just make it past next week, because the Vegas game, the Vegas Super Bowl is in a dome, so we don't have to worry about that. We have one more week. Please, God, do not let it rain. Please. But yes, I would rather play the Bucks. I think we've just proven we can win against them. He does make a good point. All aboard, it is sleepy time, and I am going to go to bed probably. Or, well, I actually have a lot of school to get done, homework. So I probably will go do that. But it is almost midnight here. Guys, thanks for tuning in. It's been a joy to have you guys listening to me. The Niners live to see another day. I do have one more stat for you guys. The last 4 out of the 5 years, the Niners have been in the NFC Championship game, which is very impressive, which means your 49ers have been some of the most successful team over the last half decade, which is really impressive. 4 out of the 5 years. Kyle Shanahan also made history, like I said earlier in the show. Again, he was 0-30 when losing by 5 or more points. Now he is 1-30 by losing by 5 or more points. Final thoughts of the night. Go Niners. I stayed home to watch this game. I could have gone to like a dance that I was invited to for this school that I run at or do sports at, but I did not. And I stayed home and watched this game, and man, was it worth it, because I was like, is it going to be worth it to go to this dance, or is it going to be worth it to stay home and watch the game? And I was like, if the 49ers blow the Packers out, it's like, I don't really know if I want to stay and watch this game, but I'm glad I did. Bills or Chiefs? I said the Bills were going to win last Tuesday when I did my last live show, and I'm going to stick to that. I think the Bills, first thing, it's in Buffalo. Super hard to win in Buffalo. And second thing, I think the Bills can run the ball better. I think they're a hotter team than the Chiefs. I think that the Chiefs have still have issues with their receivers. And I think it's going to be entertaining. There's going to be a lot of points scored. But ultimately, it's going to be who has the time of possession and who can run the ball more. And I think it's the Bills. I also think they're just a more dangerous offensive weapon, as well as defensively. Yes, the Chiefs, I feel like, is a better defense, but how much? I mean, the Chiefs this season have not shown that they can produce in high pressure situations. So I'm going to say Bills, especially since it's in Buffalo and it's going to be, home field advantage. I mean, I was about to say it's going to be freezing, but it was freezing in Arrowhead last week. The more big thing is the Chiefs had to travel, and the Chiefs, there's going to be tons of Bills fans there. So I don't dance, but I try. So guys, I'm going to get out of here while I still can. I will see you guys Monday night. I do have a big announcement. Be sure to check out my show with Lion Syndicate. He's a big guest. I'd appreciate your guys' support. Look for my stream sometime Monday night with Lion Syndicate. If the Lions do end up winning, we'll be breaking down the Niners versus Lions game. If not, we'll just be kind of breaking down the Lions loss and the Niners win. So Chiefs can run the ball too. Chiefs love the cold too. I don't think the Chiefs can run. When have the Chiefs really committed to the run game? They have Pacheco. That's great. But a lot of their losses this year, they don't run the ball. I don't know where you're getting that from. I don't think they can run the ball like the Bills the last few weeks have done a really, really good job at just handing it to James Cook. I think James Cook is better than Pacheco as far as running the ball goes. I don't agree with you on that one. A lot of the losses that the Chiefs have had is because they've ran it like 10 times to Pacheco. So, good night, everyone. Thanks for your comments. This show almost lasted 50 minutes because of it. I extremely appreciate all of your guys' continued support. Go have a good rest of your evening. Enjoy this win. I'll be back on Monday night.